Have you ever felt tingling in your feet that just won't go away? Or maybe a strange numbness that seems to come and go, no matter how much you rest? If you're over 60 and struggling with this, I want you to take a closer look at something that might surprise you: the fruits you're eating. We've always been told that fruits are healthy, full of vitamins, and good for digestion. And yes, they are. But only when eaten in the right way and in the right amounts. Because here's the truth. Some fruits, when consumed too often, or by someone with nerve issues or diabetes, may quietly worsen your foot numbness over time. Today we're going to talk about 8 specific fruits that seniors should be very cautious with, especially if you're experiencing neuropathy, tingling, or loss of feeling in your feet. I've looked through what the experts are saying, the latest senior health tips, and even what's being quietly mentioned by professionals who've spent years observing how nutrition impacts nerve health. So get comfortable, and let's start with something unexpected. Let's start with grapes. At first glance, they seem like one of the healthiest snacks out there: small, juicy, easy to eat, and full of antioxidants. But the issue isn't their size or texture, it's their high concentration of natural sugar. Just a small handful, maybe 10 to 12 grapes, can carry the same sugar load as a chocolate chip cookie, yet we rarely think to count them. For seniors, especially those managing blood sugar levels or prediabetes, this matters more than people realize. When you eat grapes, the sugar enters your bloodstream quickly. Your body responds by releasing insulin to bring that sugar down. But this constant rise and fall of sugar can become exhausting for your nerves. Over time, this pattern can inflame the small, delicate nerves in your extremities, especially in the feet where circulation tends to be weaker. That's when you might start to feel those strange pins and needles, or worse, complete numbness. Now think about bananas. They're convenient, soft, and easy to digest. No wonder many older adults eat them daily. But when it comes to potassium, bananas top the list. That's usually a good thing, since potassium supports heart rhythm and muscle function. But for someone with even mildly reduced kidney function, which is very common in seniors, especially those living with diabetes, that same potassium can become a problem. If the kidneys aren't filtering efficiently, potassium begins to accumulate in the bloodstream. At high levels, it can interfere with how your nerves communicate with your muscles. Instead of a smooth signal, things slow down, misfire, or don't happen at all. That's when the body begins to feel sluggish. And in the feet, it shows up as heaviness, tingling, or numbness that doesn't go away with rest. Then we have watermelon. It's often the fruit of choice in summer, and it feels hydrating and light. But watermelon has a hidden side. It's extremely high on the glycemic index. This means it can spike your blood sugar faster than many desserts, especially if you eat it on an empty stomach or in large quantities. While it's true that watermelon is made up mostly of water, the rest of it is sugar. And because it's digested so quickly, it floods your system almost immediately after you eat it. Seniors with weakened blood sugar control or slow circulation should be particularly cautious. The nerves in the feet, already vulnerable, are often the first to show signs of distress when sugar levels fluctuate. What starts as occasional tingling after eating a bowl of watermelon could gradually become chronic numbness if the habit continues unchecked. Now, let's take a closer look at oranges. They're often praised for their immune-boosting vitamin C, and for good reason. But their acidity and natural sugars create a tricky combination for older adults, especially those dealing with nerve pain, arthritis, or digestive sensitivities. Oranges, particularly when juiced, become highly concentrated sources of both sugar and acid. The sugar can create the same damaging effects we've already discussed, but the acid has a different role. It increases inflammation in the body, and inflammation is one of the major culprits behind nerve irritation. Seniors with neuropathy often report more burning or prickling sensations after consuming acidic foods regularly. So, while a slice of orange here and there is fine, drinking a glass of orange juice every morning, especially without balancing it with fiber or protein, can quietly aggravate nerve-related foot issues over time. Let's move on to pineapples. They're vibrant, flavorful, and instantly remind you of tropical islands. Many seniors enjoy them blended into smoothies, served fresh, or even grilled with meals. But beneath that sweet and tangy taste lies a major issue. Pineapples are among the most acidic fruits you can eat. Their acidity is so strong that some people feel a burning sensation on their tongue or lips after eating them. Now imagine what that same acid is doing internally, especially if you're eating pineapple frequently. For someone with a sensitive digestive system, the acid can irritate the stomach lining, which may lead to bloating, discomfort, or reflux. But more importantly, it can quietly fuel inflammation in the body. When inflammation becomes chronic, it starts affecting other systems, including the nervous system. And if you're already dealing with neuropathy, diabetes-related nerve issues, or general nerve aging, this can increase oxidative stress, the kind that damages nerve tissue. In the feet, this may feel like more frequent buzzing, tingling, or dull numbness that becomes harder to ignore over time. So while pineapple may seem like a healthy treat, it's not always friendly to senior nerves. Now let's take a closer look at mangoes. On the surface, mangoes seem like a perfect fruit. They're colorful, packed with antioxidants, and full of tropical flavor. But they come with a hidden cost, especially for seniors who are managing blood sugar. Mangoes rank high on the glycemic index, which means they can cause a very fast rise in blood glucose after you eat them. This kind of spike is especially dangerous for older adults with insulin resistance, a condition where the body doesn't use insulin effectively. When blood sugar rises too high and too fast, it puts immense pressure on the blood vessels and nerves, particularly the small nerves in the extremities. And since circulation in the feet tends to be slower as we age, those nerves often don't get the oxygen and nutrients they need to repair or protect themselves. Over time, repeated sugar spikes can contribute to lasting damage. That subtle tingling in your toes that fades and returns, or that feeling like your sock is bunched up when it's not. Mango might be playing a bigger role than you think. Now let's talk about dried fruits, which can be especially misleading. Things like raisins, dried dates, apricots, and figs are often considered a healthy alternative to processed sweets. And yes, they come from whole fruits, but when fruit is dried, most of the water content is removed, leaving behind a highly concentrated form of sugar. What used to be a serving of grapes becomes a tiny handful of raisins, easy to overeat. For seniors, this is where the problem starts. It's incredibly easy to consume 2 or 3 times the natural sugar amount without even noticing. Plus, during the drying process, many nutrients and enzymes are reduced or lost, while sugar becomes more accessible in the digestive system. This means that dried fruits act more like refined sugar once they hit your bloodstream. And the fiber content, which helps slow digestion and protect blood sugar, is often diminished in dried versions. So when you toss a few dried dates into your breakfast or snack on a handful of raisins in the afternoon, you could be unknowingly spiking your blood sugar. For someone already dealing with nerve pain or early signs of neuropathy, this can quietly intensify the problem. Nerves in the feet, already fragile and under strain, can become even more reactive or unresponsive, contributing to that feeling of numbness or strange sensations when walking or standing. And the last fruit we need to talk about is cherries. They're sweet, soft, and often considered a guilt-free treat. Many people enjoy them as a snack, a topping for desserts, or even blended into drinks. But while cherries may seem harmless, they carry more sugar than most people realize, especially when eaten in large amounts. And if you're buying them canned or preserved in jars, the situation gets even worse. These versions are often packed in heavy syrup, which adds extra refined sugar on top of the fruit's natural sweetness. This combination delivers a sharp sugar spike to your system that can be especially problematic for seniors. For older adults dealing with blood sugar sensitivity, even mild insulin resistance or sluggish circulation, cherries, especially in processed form, can quietly work against nerve health. Over time, the high sugar content can irritate and inflame the small, fragile nerves in the feet, which are already vulnerable due to age or chronic conditions like diabetes. What feels like a harmless handful of fruit can contribute to that familiar tingling, burning, or numbness in the feet, sensations that often go ignored until they become part of daily life, So if you enjoy cherries, it's best to stick with fresh ones in moderation, and always check the label when buying them in packaged form. Now, this doesn't mean you need to give up fruit completely. That's not the message. Fruits offer fiber, vitamins, and hydration, but the key here is understanding how specific fruits, especially the high sugar or high acid ones, can harm nerve health when eaten in excess. For seniors dealing with chronic numbness, neuropathy, or diabetic symptoms, it's critical to watch for patterns. If you notice tingling after eating certain fruits, that's a clue your body is trying to tell you something. It's not always about what we add to our diet. Sometimes it's what we keep eating without realizing the harm. These fruits may seem harmless, but for seniors dealing with nerve issues or blood sugar concerns, they can quietly make things worse over time. If your feet have felt numb, tingly, or weak, take a moment to think about your daily fruit habits. Even small changes, like cutting back on high sugar or dried fruits, can bring noticeable relief. Thanks for watching. If this helped you, check out our next video on the surprising breakfast foods that may be raising your blood sugar. Stay well and keep those feet strong.